Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech at 2, D5, and Joey McGuire, Grant McCaslin playing roster Tetris in all directions. We sort it out.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you again. And of course, checking in on some familiar topics of conversation as we reconvene. And we remain also in a state on a couple of different fronts, still described as fluid. We're going to touch both on Grant McCaslin's Texas Tech basketball program, Joey McGuire's Red Raider football program on today's episode. May even use the word deadline again. Anybody sick of hearing about deadlines? I'm raising my hand for those who are listening via podcast, but we might get back to something like that. We'll get to something we've been texting about with some Matador Mobsters. I've seen this in the YouTube comments as well. Some questions about this upcoming pursuit of the number 105. Only so many spots available whenever it comes to the Texas Tech football effort, and we'll talk about the maneuvering that's going to be required and what that may look like as we get into today's conversation. And of course, I also want to get to what is generally, and this bridges the gap between the two programs, Chris, a game of roster Tetris that continues to be played. Whether we're talking about transfers or new additions via whatever means, it's always very, very busy. As I've said before, there is no off season, so we embrace portal season. And I think you recently said you love it, you hate it, it's maddening, it's fun, all of the above. So that's just kind of the way we operate this time of year. But our check-in on any portal conversation has got to involve, of course, something that Tech fans have had a little time to process now, and that is a technical declaration, if not outright entry. I think you walk into the room like Michael Scott and you say, "I declare portal entry," and that's how you know the experience gets kicked off. But some intentions, I guess, reported on as far as Darrion Williams, Chris, when it comes to professional pursuits and or that involving an entry into the transfer portal. Whole lot to process about this. Part of what we know is that it's just a nerve-wracking part of this process, I guess. But curious to pick your brain on how this is sitting with you, and we're moving through this week.
Yeah, I mean, with this one, I'm not surprised. I mean, and we'll see what the end result here is, because I think I said this to you. I mean, it was maybe one of the first times we reconvened after, I got back into town. There was the loss to Florida in the Elite Eight game. We get back from San Francisco, and we're talking about JT and Darrion and what's next. And I think I said something to you of the, along the lines of, like, sometimes some of these guys are just kind of done with this and ready for the next thing in life. And whatever that is, and I think in D5's case, I don't know if anybody could guarantee what that next thing is, but I just wonder if it's ready to turn the page. I would be very careful out there, and I know a lot of people are triggered or like I hate him now, whatever, and I hate that. I mean, Texas Tech has benefited from this process as much as anybody, it seems like, and
Sure.
And Darrion Williams has given you unbelievably good memories over the last couple of years. He has won some big basketball games. He will be extremely difficult to replace. You could put his picture, next to the Swiss Army knife analogy and say, you know what? You got a patent on it, buddy. You are, in fact, the real human version of a Swiss Army knife as it relates to a college basketball player. But is it the NBA? Is it just whatever is next professionally? Is it let's run out that process and then let's get the feedback on said process? And if it's not what we want, then let's keep our options open and let's maybe go to college, to highest bidder, to West Coast, which I think he would probably prefer, to back to Texas Tech, to who knows what. And so I think, though, that's what is, again, you have taken advantage of it. You just did in football. I mean, like, in an unbelievable way with David Bailey. But what advisors and agents are really pointing these kids to is, like, get into the portal. Even if you're not leaving, get into the portal, because it will only up the ante, I mean, that's what we're. And you want to talk about big losers in the house case? It's these agents that you don't know their names of. It's these lower end, because they're going to stand to not be able to make near as much money. But I think that's what is happening here, is that D5 has just been instructed, hey man, and I really don't know if there's a place here for him. I think so I'm clear here. I think you tried. I don't think there was a lot of back and forth here. I don't know if you really had the option to go sit across from him and go, well, let's hammer something out. I don't know if it even came close to that. I also think that if you're Texas Tech, I think you have to be very careful about waiting on said NBA process to play out, because I mean, we kind of need to know what role we've got, and what we've got dollars that we're ready to allocate to certain individuals. And so it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing that if you're going to kind of move on and like plan accordingly. But right now, at the earliest, I think that, you may not know anything with him until late May, early June, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's wild to consider. We talked about that timeline kind of crunch and trying to figure out whether or not, with pieces so key as Darrion Williams or JT Toppin or Christian Anderson, are you building around these guys? Are you building to replace guys like this? So many things happening so quick. I don't begrudge any guy for getting in the portal and using the fullest extent of whatever leverage they've got at this point in their career. I think this is one of Darrion Williams' final biggest cash-in opportunities that he's got as a basketball player. And so I would stretch it to its very thinnest. I think there are a lot of things, obviously, to consider. And I do just the cash aspect, but go ahead.
And I do think Texas Tech was prepared to, play ball at Fenway.
Sure.
I think they were ready to, like, and it just never really was allowed to get to that. So that's why it
sounds like you're putting a ribbon on it. I was kind of thinking this thing would be a little more open-ended, in the sense that this is part of the negotiating process almost. So we'll see, but it sounds like there's a conclusion already here.
I told you that for initially. I just sense that maybe a guy like D5 is just kind of ready for the next thing. Like I'm just kind of, but I can't say that. I mean, he's never told me that. I'm just going off of the way I've, kind of witnessed this. And like, did he play in every game that he could? I don't know. Did he and Grant get along great, or was his experience within the program great? I don't know. What was he an example of we jump on your back, and would the head coach say this as much in some of these tournament games? Yeah. And so there's a lot of behind the scenes that we just wouldn't be privy to.
Yeah.
But I just there's a reason why I say what I said about, I just wonder if he's just ready to graduate from this process. It's nothing against Lubbock or Texas Tech or whatever. And if he wants to go to another school, personally, I hope it's not another Big 12 school. But if that's what is in the cards, this is what happens, and it's fairly normalized now. But
yeah, we got the scouting report.
Yeah,
we got the tape, baby. We know.
Yeah, that's right. He's gonna hit big threes at the end of most games. He's gonna back you down and try to get to that left block and yeah, you need to stay on that left shoulder there because he's coming around. So there you go.
All right, interesting to consider. I do think for a lot this is or can be just part of the process, one that kind of stresses you out as a fan, maybe when you don't have a similar or exact set of circumstances like what we're talking about here. But to me, Darrion Williams, with all due respect to his basketball possibilities in the future, I think his next most lucrative opportunity still remains on the college level. It's hard for me to fathom or figure a better situation for him in all aspects as far as basketball or financially speaking is concerned. But I'm not in those conversations. So want to hit the West Coast and try your luck? I'm sure there is someone who's willing to compensate him very handsomely to come wear their jersey. I have no doubt about that. Everything else that will be considered in it, who knows? And there's always somebody. All it takes is a checkbook, Chris. All it takes is one Al Davis to make one Darius Hayward Bay. Who? Well, he got a big check that one time. So that I get it. It's part of the process. I hate to lose a guy like that as a first team All-Big 12er. It was an interesting season for him. So I don't know if his stock actually increased, decreased, stayed the same, because there were a lot of like conflicting signs or symptoms, I guess. You think, okay, well, some of what we already know and have described was a part of it, and then you wind up as a first team all-conference player. So you can't like act like you were let down. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, he is somebody that.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Whether it's sports, music, comedy, or beyond, we all love going to live events. And now Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature trims all the fat to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You'll always find can't beat deals. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
I think he's a connector. He is just somebody that no matter the lineup or the point in the game, it's like a calming influence when he's out there. And I think that he had that clutch component to his game, and he's just able to provide whatever is needed at the time. And there's just not many kids that can do that. Like, you, as good as a JT Toppin is, if you're out there, hey man, go be a playmaker. Coach, I'm just here to score and rebound. No, go be a playmaker. Well, you know what I mean? Sure. And like D5 is somebody that can, it's like he could have played point guard for you. He can hit the big shot. He can back you down. He can guard variety of different positions. And so, I've seen it written, by folks that would know he is a draft pick. There's levels to this. Being a draft pick and being a guaranteed first rounder, those are vastly different things. And it's not a guaranteed draft pick. I think he is a draft pick. Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't. So, but they have to go with the knowledge that they're getting from the. Because I don't think he's been through the NBA process, so this would be fairly new to him. Like, I don't know what they will say to him on what you need to be better at. In other words, i.e., shoot it better. You need to be a little bit quicker. I don't know what they would offer up as far as like, hey, you need to go back to school and work on these things. But anyway, if it's not back here and he does come back to college, I wish him well. I really hope that it's not in the Big 12 conference, if that's what happens and it plays out that way. Otherwise, off to the NBA you go, and you don't have to deal with him anymore if he's not, in fact, back here. But I wouldn't totally just remove that as a possibility. I just wouldn't. Right. The thing, though, is it would have been it would have made a lot more sense to make the most money you could if you would have taken advantage of these conversations and potential offers or whatever, like in this time frame that you and I are speaking in right now, because 6 weeks from now, the world could look completely different, and that may not be allowed anymore.
That's true. And it always depends on the timing too of who's actually still available on the market as to what the pricing looks like. It's a crazy set of circumstances, this transfer portal era that we find ourselves observing. Wide-eyed, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed with a bucket of popcorn most of the time. Like I've said before, I'm embracing all of this. And I think we will be revisiting some Red Raider personnel conversations or decisions being made. And we really have focused a lot inward regarding some of these players who have already been in your uniform. But I know that there's been a lot happening fast and furiously, sort of behind the scenes or under the water, if you will, given some of the targets elsewhere, Chris. So I don't know, maybe some of these pots that are simmering are going to come to a boil soon, or might have already, depending upon when you're even hearing this conversation. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, so you miss none of that whenever some of the news begins to really happen publicly and some of those additions begin to be rolling in. And I kind of feel like, for whatever impatience there might be out there, Grant McCaslin has a large and eternally lit green light from yours truly. So I'm thinking a lot about his process, his method, and what we've seen as far as results to it, Chris. He's got quite a bit of slack with me, I got to be honest.
He has earned the right, and I get there's I don't know if the right word is concern or panic, or maybe it's just really loud curiosity. What are we doing? What's going on?
Loud curiosity. I'm not being impatient. It's just loud curiosity.
What is happening? And it is very hard to be patient right now. You see other people getting this player and whatever it may be. I think that this roster building process, it takes a second, but Grant is very measured. If you look back into how he has operated, whether it's a recruiting process or whether it is hiring process, and then that is like a great example, because nothing ever happens quickly, and I think well, I said that his team plays fast. Remember when everybody was like, "Oh man, what do we hire this guy? This 55 points a game guy to coach our deal? It's a boring brand. Good players don't want to play in this style." Yeah, and then you show up and it's like he's averaging 81 points a game, and they still play pretty good defense.
He also quickly goes from like congenial to smoke out the ears competitive. That happens really fast, I've noticed. Also,
he can stomp a foot. He can stomp a foot as well as anybody. Yeah. It's I love it. Like those arms could get folded, and it's like, it's great.
And look, I would just say too, Chris, it's only been 2 years. I'm not trying to act like he's got some lifetime, honeymoon grace period, but the results are what the results are.
The only thing that I could even remotely say, I wonder if they had it to do over again, was if they had it to do over again, would they have rather have had, again, looking back, if they would have been able to look at and go, hey man, we probably shouldn't bring David Kamers back for a second year, and we could have used that spot on somebody else. That may be the only redo that I would even suggest would be open for discussion. But he's able to put a good team together that will be very competent and relevant and competitive, and then coach the heck out of them. So I see, especially if Christian Anderson and JT Toppin are a part of it. That's a hell of a duo to build around, because those two, I've seen enough. Those two guys can play for anybody in the Big 12 Conference.
Sure. And of course, if you're playing in the Big 12 Conference, you're probably good enough to play for a national title in some context. Chris, I don't know if there's well, I would just say this. You go back to what we've already discussed. Force multipliers. I'd put those guys in the same category. All right. So just carry over what we said in the other force multiplier conversation, apply it to this one. We'll see how this begins to come into form. And I think maybe a flurry or an avalanche or a big wave of activity is just around the corner. And a lot of those results I think we're going to be really excited about. Before we get out of here, Chris, similar conversation, but we're going to switch gears in a way and take it to Joey McGuire's Red Raider football roster maneuvering. he's got coming up a pursuit of a 105-man list, right? And we're talking, I don't know how else to get around it or phrase it, but we're talking some major squeezing in some instances. And I'm sure that comes with a lot of things that are probably uncomfortable or hard conversations that you've got to have that in another era you just didn't. But I wonder about the preparation as we get nearer to this and kind of the lead up and how that process has gone. So can you give us a feel for that, and in general, in whatever context you think we need, just sort of set the table for what this is about and what we've got going on
here? So, based on what I can gather from the court proceedings yesterday from Judge Wilkins out in Oakland, is that, again, keep in mind when you start talking about roster cuts, I mean, there was a portion of what she talked about as far as grandfathering people in to old roster limits. So we'll kind of keep an eye on this, but we do expect this to be 105. And I think that, look, the next portal window opens up on April the 16th. Which is, a week from tomorrow, if you're listening to this or watching this on a Tuesday. And I don't think you have to be down to 105. I think it's like July 1 or August 1 or whatever. But even here is something that Joey McGuire has offered up. There is something that Joey McGuire has offered up in the old ether, is that you can. So with the portal window opening up, I don't want to get ahead of myself. With the portal window opening up, I can see that if Joey and his coaches have met and there's certain kids they just don't, in a best case scenario, I just don't see them making our 105. I can see you going to them going, hey, man, we want to do what's best for you. We want you to have as many options out there as possible. It's best if you get into the portal because you're just not going to make it here. Okay, so there'll be some of that. And again, as we've documented, Texas Tech may be having folks that exit, but you also may have more folks that enter as well if they check certain boxes. Or having some return. We shall see. I think, though, that you've got to get down to 105 by August 1. I don't know the exact, but I know Joey offered this up. He said, hey, you really have until the first week or the first game or like the week of the first game or something to really nail down 1 of your 5. And the reason why he brought this up is because if somebody in August tears their knee up, you are allowed to replace them and they can then be a party 105. So it's not like permanent until like the first game or the first week of the first game or whatever. And at that point, that is your 105 that you can't, you're past the trade deadline at that point. So there's going to be some processes and cycles and different things that happen. But what you're talking about right now is you're in the midst of some tryouts. It is what it is. And there's really not anything that these young men could do in, say, May or June to alter this or that to like show a coach, hey, I can do it, And so what you're seeing is that it's playing out right now. You're seeing that versatility is key. If you can deep snap and do this, if you can do this and do that, if you're a good holder and you can do this and do that, I mean, we can, so versatility is key, like it would be as an NFL player on a Sunday when not everybody is made active, but offensive lineman, he can play inside, he can play outside, we can do, so this is all the what kind of things that are going on right now. So versatility being next to your name would certainly help you make this 105. You're
really making me kind of think too about the category of like a special teams player that could take on a totally different kind of value if you've got that versatility, or you can be trusted in different kinds of situations, or some of those who are maybe on the fringes here or there, but can really assert themselves above some of the others as being really vital. And I know they always kind of have been. We can all probably think about some of those standouts in that kind of category.
Well, over the
years, but
think about it in these terms. These are real spots to where you can you can look at your piece of paper with all these names on there, and I could literally have to say to a really good receiver, really good offensive lineman, really good whatever, or do I keep a backup punter, or do I keep a backup deep snapper? I'm like, what would you do? I'm like, I'm going to tell this big monster that may be a stud in like 2 years, or do I really want a kid that can kick the ball 40 yards? But I mean, if you ain't, heaven forbid you do really good and your deep snapper gets hurt and you airmail it over your punter's head in a conference championship game, and you're like, why the heck don't we have a backup deep snapper? Like, what are we doing?
All right, you convinced me. I won't punt it. I'll commit to a year of no punting.
But I bring that up for a reason, in that you know who your backup punter could end up being?
Who's that?
Baron Morton. Did it in high school. Kids like all state and all kinds of things. I mean, he was a heck of a punter. So, and I think he's done some punting out there, like in his time on campus. But you'll find out about these different skill sets these guys could do. Like, dude, if we have to like play a game with this dude, a Wildcat quarterback, he did in high school. He didn't. I mean, this is what you're going to get into, and it's not dire. I'm just saying some of those specialty items, like deep snapping or punting or kicking or whatever. I don't know where everybody will fall on having a luxury of having backups along those things. I really don't know. But if you can kick and punt, so you're a keeper.
Back to the punt, pass, and kick value, dude.
Yep, that's right.
Treating those competitions a little heavier once again. And shout out to the legendary Andy Reid, probably the most legendary punt, pass, and kick competitor of all time. All right, Chris, appreciate the time and the insights. As always, man, enjoyed it. And I think we'll be getting back together here fairly soon. It is one of those weeks where you never know what's coming down the pipe. So I want to make sure everybody out there is subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts as well, so you're not missing a thing. Chris, we'll see you for the next one, whenever it may be.
Hey, man, looking forward to it. Sounds good. There's a lot going on, as we've just documented here. There's the portal window for football opens up next week. You're going to try to hold on to who you want to hold on to, but may not be able to do that. But then you could welcome some folks back into the fold. You could, be asking. You could have a help wanted sign at a couple different positions, and maybe welcoming some folks that we don't know back into the fold. So who the heck knows, man? But yeah, we'll be here to try to break it all down. Try to. I can't. No promises here, but we do attempt.
You've described it very well before as speed dating in very sick, twisted ways. We're looking for some chunkies in some context. We're looking for some speed in some other context. So we're needing a whole lot. Hoping the Red Raiders are successful in next speed dating round, whether we're talking hoops, we're talking football, or anything in between. Appreciate you, Chris, and appreciate you all for being out there. Again, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss a thing. Thank you to the everydayers for being there once again. And, of course, shout out to the Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for the time. And as always, we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.